Hello and welcome to the 26th episode of the PSPremiere Podcast. I'm your host, James Smith, and today I am joined once again by Dory.
Hello, I am Dory. I go by she, her pronouns, and you can find me on Twitter at declare192 as well as Twitch.
And Seb.
Hi, I'm Sebastian. I hope everybody's having a great week. You can follow me at LittleSeb93.
Great. We're going to try and keep it a little shorter this week. Hopefully, I guess if you're listening to this, you'll already have figured out whether we managed to do that or not. But yeah, let's just dive right into what we've been playing. So, Dory, how about you? What have you been playing this week? And
Yeah,
I guess last week as well, because we missed last week.
Yeah, so mostly just like 4 games. So I've been playing. I very briefly. So I'm still messing with Xbox Game Pass every now and then. I played this cute little puzzler called Carto. And you're like a little kid, and you are messing. It's Carto is short for cartography. So you're like playing using these map pieces and using them like puzzle pieces. I played it for like an hour and a half. I kind of got tired of it. I thought it was very cute, and I think it's good for people who just want like a nice relaxing puzzler. But I didn't find it engaging enough. So I quit after an hour and a half. But it's a cute game. It looks nice. I don't not recommend it. I just didn't really play too much of it to give it a full recommendation.
I don't think I've heard of this. Is it just some indie?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just an indie game. Basically you're this little kid who knocks like the puzzle pieces are all magical map pieces or whatever. And so you put them together to get to new areas and use it to explore and talk to people. There are little quests that you can do along the way. It's just a cute small little puzzler that takes you maybe like 4 or 5 hours to beat.
Sure.
I only played it for a couple hours and then I kind of got bored with the main mechanic, but I'm not a big puzzle person. I was trying new things, so
fair enough.
And then besides that, I've also been playing another game on Xbox Game Pass called Crossing Souls. It's like an homage to 80s beat 'em ups. So like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Simpsons. I know it's kind of like 90s, but 80s, 90s beat 'em ups. Streets of Rage, all that stuff.
It's the Dark Souls of beat 'em ups.
Yes, absolutely. Crossing Souls is actually a Dark Souls spinoff. No, basically, I mean, it's like Stranger Things, but a little bit more sci-fi. You're kind of you're basically able to see spirits through a magical gem. And basically these evil guys are after you because they want the gem as well. And each character can have different things. Like the girl is like a tough girl from the trailer park, and has got like a jump rope or something as an attack. And then one of the other kids like just a big guy, and he's like able to punch, and he's got more health than everybody else. So it goes on and on like that. There's a lot of 80s references, as you might imagine, a ton. Obviously, they don't have a lot of trademarks or copyrights to things from the 80s, so they have to do bootleg versions, which is always kind of funny to see. I can't think of any things off the top of my head, but there's 80s references galore. So if you love the 80s, this is probably a game for you. I like the combat. It's kind of okay. The game's nothing super home to write about, but I've only gotten in 2 or 3 hours at this point. I plan to put more in though. I've been enjoying it well enough. The characters and conversations are funny and interesting enough that I'm curious where it goes. And then the other big game I've been playing is Hitman 3. I have gotten to the 4th level. I haven't started it yet, but I've beaten the first 3 levels. I beat the 3rd level on my first try in one go, and it was hectic. I had to run out by the end of it because I was being hunted. And I wish I had kept a recording of it because it was so funny. It was so frantic, but it was really fun. It was the Berlin level, and it was just a ton of fun. I'm still having so much like excitement and joy out of that game. It's just really quirky and kooky and fun to play.
Question for you: what did you do on the second map, the murder mystery map? What did you do on your first run through it?
I was just a detective, and honestly, I ran through it, and I think I spent almost 2 hours in that level just being the detective because it took me a while to figure out, I can use the camera for certain things. And there's even a little icon in the map. I didn't have an excuse. I just didn't notice the camera icon. So I was a private eye. And
Did you like solve? Because that's what I did. My first run through, I went and solved the whole mystery and everything.
yes, I solved the mystery as well. I found all the clues, interrogated everybody. It takes you about, at least for me, it took me almost 2 hours. Although I
Yeah,
think it took me,
it took me an hour 45 all in.
yeah, yeah. So I think they could have been clear with the camera thing, but that's okay. I really, really enjoyed that level. I thought Dartmoor was fantastic and really, really fun. I've never had so much fun being a PI or whatever, investigator, detective.
It's a
Whatever.
good game. It really fits that game as well.
Yeah, yeah. It slots itself into that genre really well.
The
Just
weird
through
thing
the
is
natural,
though,
yeah.
for me, it was kind of annoying because I sort of figured out who done it earlier, like a bit earlier on, but I still had to go and collect all the evidence and everything to actually sort of turn the quest in, so to speak, which was a little bit annoying. But yeah, it was definitely satisfying.
For me, it lined up really nicely. It took me quite a while to figure out who it was, and then even then, I think I only had a few pieces of evidence. But yeah, if you figure out earlier, I'm sure it might get a little.
If you're smart like me, yeah.
That's right. If you're smart like James and not like me. The last thing I've been playing, and I've been streaming it on my Twitch, is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It's okay. It's just all right. It's not bad, but it's not great either. It just feels like Uncharted 4.5 or something like that. It doesn't really feel, which is sad because, like, obviously Tomb Raider as a series influenced Uncharted, and now it seems like the roles are reversed and Uncharted is influencing Tomb Raider. So it's very strange.
Such is life.
Such is life, I guess. But yeah, it's still a good game, and I like Laura, I don't know. And she and her friend Jonah are fun. I think I played the first 6 hours or so. So I've been really enjoying Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It's not like an amazing game, but it's fine. It's just okay so far. I think the story's so. The villain is, geez, if you think the guy from Miles Morales is cliche, this guy is even more cliche.
Is he also played by Troy Baker?
Unfortunately, I don't think he is. No, I think he's played.
No.
I think unlike Naughty Dog, I think all the characters who are people of color are actually played by people of color. Hey,
hey.
So
well, he can't be more cliche than anyone played by Troy Baker. I'm sorry.
True, that's true. I mean, Troy was hamming it up, that's for sure. But anyway, I like it. It's fine. It's okay.
There you go. Is that everything then?
Yeah, those are the 4 games I've been playing lately. If there's anything else that slipped my mind.
Great. Seb, what have you been playing?
Well, I went back in some games that I was like 70% at, and then I decided to finish them now. It's a good time to do that because it's kind of a dry year so far.
Yeah, it is.
So I finished Luigi's Mansion 3 finally. I was like at the end. I finished Super Mario U Deluxe, which is okay. I platinum Control a couple 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whatever it was. I'll get into that later. Platinum Little Nightmares 2 yesterday. I just got Super Mario 3D World. I'm also playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and I totally agree with Dory. It's very average, pretty forgettable game, honestly. I don't really. It's fun, but it's like I'm totally ready to move on at this point. Like I'm at a section where the villains at the end of the Uncharted 1, like those like monster guys, you know what I mean? Like
the zombie sort of things.
It's literally the same enemies I'm at right now. Like they took it from Uncharted. And I finished Tell Me Why, which was pretty good. I wish the climax was better. It was a lot of build up for kind of a disappointing ending, but overall it was a pretty good story. I just wish it was a bit faster, had more gameplay sections. It kind of had a supernatural element to it, because the twins have a psychic link where they can talk to each other in their thoughts, but they never really do anything with it. It's kind of like the shadow villain. He's actually scary looking, but they never really do anything with it. And the game is mainly just sitting through dialogue and solving puzzles. So I was kind of hoping a little for more, but it's worth the playthrough. It's only 6 hours long. So that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to pick that up at some point and give that a shot. I think. Yeah. I need to play the first one as well.
If you like Life is Strange, you like this, I think. But it's definitely I think it's worse, to be honest with you, than Life is Strange.
Sure, yeah.
The writing's not the same, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. Right. So, as for me, I've been playing some more Last of Us Part 2. Still making my way through that. Still taking a lot of photos. I'm getting through very, very slowly. God, but I didn't write down what I was playing. So I started Jedi Fallen Order. I started replaying that purely to take photos in it. So I'll see how far I get in that
It's a
as
great game.
well. It's not, I wasn't big on it when I played it the first time when it came out. Like, I thought it was okay, but I didn't think it was as good as everyone was saying it was. Like, oh yeah, I feel like it's one of those games where you'd appreciate it a lot more if you're a Star Wars fan, which I am not.
Mm-hmm. But like, what keeps you from like saying it's not great? Like, is it the combat that's not clicking with you, or?
I think at the time, the main issue I had with it was that it took a lot of elements from other popular games and it didn't do any of them quite as well as the games that it was taking them from.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in that regard, like it kind of just feels like a weaker, for like it's a jack of all trades, master of none kind of situation.
Yeah, like it's a mix of a lot of games, and the combat is like Souls like it really is, honestly.
Yeah, and you've got
a lot
like
of parry, dodging, and
you've got a lot of like Uncharted like climbing and stuff like that in there as well. That's not quite as good. You got sliding from this kind of like
Yeah, my biggest issue with that
the
game was the backtracking. There was way too much backtracking.
the movement mechanics on that are kind of sloppy. There were a couple of times where I felt like I should have made a jump and I didn't.
Especially
I'm
the sliding.
As a Star Wars fan, I enjoyed the game, but I can. It did have a very basic combat. I mean, I enjoyed the combat. It felt like approachable. I'm gonna say the two words I should never say, but it sounded like it felt like approachable Dark Souls to me, which I
approachable
liked.
Souls.
Approachable Souls, of course. The new hit spinoff. But yeah, I liked it. I liked the story, but I definitely see that the movement is not always great with some of those sliding puzzles or puzzles. They're not really
the
puzzles.
story was alright, but you know the main character is incredibly bland.
Bland.
He looks
So
like
bland.
a dweeb.
Yeah, he's a big dweeb.
I like Cal. I kind of like Cal.
You're a fan of Carl Kestis?
Yeah.
I like
Generic,
Cal
bland
too,
ass
but he's bland as hell. He has almost no character.
Yeah.
His hair has more character than he does.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the actor because like I like everything he's in, like fantastic Joker and a fantastic he's fantastic in Shameless, things like that. But yeah, but that ending though was one of the best like scenes I've ever seen in a game. Like it was so hype.
I wish I hadn't gotten that scene spoiled for me. I knew who was going to show up at the end.
Yeah.
I won't say anything, but
did you get it spoiled from the trailer? Because I know there was a trailer that came out like a few weeks after the game released that spoiled it.
I think it was the trailer, or maybe it was somebody who was talking about the trailer, but it was definitely in reference to the trailer. Something about it happened.
Yeah. That was nuts.
But you're not wrong though, James. If you're a Star Wars fan, you probably love it a lot more because like that section with the Order 66 and like when the Master they had to fight the clone troopers.
Oh, I found that. Yeah,
that was one of the best scenes I've seen in Star Wars. Like that was fantastic.
Yep. That's really good.
Yeah, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of hard to appreciate it. You know.
Honestly, I've been watching I won't go off too much on this, but I've been watching the Clone Wars series with my partner. And
no, me too.
Knowing, just knowing that Order 66 is eventually going to happen, or even if it's not, I don't know. Don't tell me, but just knowing that is a thing in the future, whether it happens in the series or not, is just kind of a quiet, heartbreaking thing for me in the background. And my partner she's never seen the prequels, so she has no idea. She just thinks the clones are always going to be great.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't tell her. I know the heart.
That show saves the prequels because when you watch the prequels after that show, you enjoy it like 10 times more because it's like because there's so much build up and chemistry now, like
She loves
I just love that everyone's like, oh, Order 66 is this big, like this big deal. It's all it's a tragedy. It's so tragic. It's awful. They all get killed and everything. They get turned on. And then in the prequel movies, it's just like they all of a sudden flip of a switch, and then all these Jedi it's just a montage of these Jedi getting gunned down in the most ridiculous ways possible.
I mean, there was no development. We're gonna go on a tangent, but there was just not enough the development to build up to that. Like Anakin kind of like turns bad like on a dime in the third movie, Like it's like
Yeah.
really quick. And he's a
God, he
whiny bitch.
sucks.
Like he's like a whiny bitch. All the movies, like in the show, he's like a competent leader and a great friend and all that. But in the movies, he's just like a whiny emo kid. Like all he does is complain about everybody.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's very true to Luke in the original.
No, it's true, but he's not as annoying. Like he's
No,
like
I know.
understandable. Anakin's just like a whiny, spoiled brat.
Still, I do enjoy Episode 3 more than any of the other Star Wars movies.
I love 3, but nothing beats the originals for me.
I can't get through all
Empire
the
Strikes
romance
Back.
dialogue and stuff.
Empire Strikes Back to me is the greatest movie of all time. So,
Wow.
I love that movie so much.
Which one is that again?
The 5th one.
Oh. Okay.
The I'm Your Father one.
Right.
Yeah.
God,
I think it was. I saw a tweet the other day as well talking about the Lego Star Wars games and how like with that scene, because they didn't have dialogue, they couldn't do that scene properly, so they just had to have him with like a photo of him and his mother, like, and he was just pointing to it.
I love those Lego games. They're so silly.
And that's why I was always sad when they started putting dialogue in those games. Like, I feel like having no dialogue in them gave them so much character.
Yeah. It
Or at
puts
least-
a nice limitation.
Yeah, at least like do like new dialogue. Like just take like actual dialogue from the movies and just put it copy. Like they literally, like, if you play the Jurassic Park one, like they literally just get the actual lines from the movie and audio. No, it's like it's literally the audio from the movie. They just put it over the characters. Like they didn't get any voice actors or not. It's so lazy. But yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
There's our tangent over there.
we should move on. So I was about to say we've all been playing Destruction AllStars, but we haven't because Dory doesn't have a PS5.
I mean, I wouldn't anyway.
Like,
I mean, maybe I'd try it.
Why are you even here? Like, we've all moved on now. Send it. Like, you're gonna join us.
Look, all right. I've waited in that queue a couple times because I've got some extra money now, and it's a clusterfuck. All right.
No,
there's no.
I'm with you.
I will eventually get it. Someday I will see the Wario tweet, and I'll get it there first minute.
Don't go by Wario. Go by that was my mistake. Go by those Twitter pages that actually jump right on it like seconds as soon as it starts, or they give you like an hour heads up. Because Wario is always kind of late. Because I had to get my dad. I was trying to get my dad a PS5, and it was a nightmare. It took me like a month to get it. So just like follow those specific Twitter pages.
It figures that, very true to his name, Wario64 would cheat me out of more.
Yeah, I love him, but like when it comes to the stock, he's been a little too slow. You have to be like seconds.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Anyway, James, everyone's been playing.
Everyone except for Dory's been playing.
We lost you as soon as I.
Has been playing Destruction AllStars, which is free on PlayStation Plus this month, and it just released for PS5. And it's that game where you drive about in cars and stuff.
Yep.
How good are the animations in this game? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the animation is really good. Like I love, especially like the wall running and the jumps, all like the high jumps you do and stuff. Like it's so.
Yeah, and when you're in the character selection as well, and they've all got their own like animations to give them like personality and stuff like that.
And it's really smooth. It's like a very nice like 60 frames and everything's just like it looks a high quality game.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Now the gameplay we'll get into, but
but like the animations, I feel like they make like the movement feel so much better as well.
Yeah, they nailed the animation for sure.
Yeah. In terms of like the gameplay and stuff, admittedly I've only played one game, so I have somewhat limited impressions. I wasn't big on it, so I didn't play more, and also I was busy with other things. But
I played with Mitch, so me and Mitch were pretty.
Well, you played with Mitch, and you didn't invite me.
Well, this was like 5 a.m, like my time. For some reason I got up in the middle of the night. No, we were gonna. I told Mitch like the next day or the two, all three of us were gonna play, but then I think he had to work and stuff, so they kind of plans got scrapped. But
anyway.
But even then, even if we did play together, you really can't play together because like there's really no teamwork. You're kind of on your own. You're just on a team, but you don't really do anything as a team. You kind of just like, you know what I mean? You just like you're doing your own thing, and it's kind of a competition who gets the most points on your team.
Yeah, I didn't play the game. I didn't play the team games. I only played the sort of 8 people in a ring.
Well, it's like it's the same as solo, like because they put you on like 2 teams, right? Whoever gets
Right.
the most points at the end wins. It's just the same thing. It's just multiplayer. So the 3 of us would be on a team, and we would have like we'll all be responsible to score points. But other than that, we couldn't really do anything like together. No like bonus or
Can you
That
like
seems
save your teammates or like prevent them from getting like knocked off by opponents? Like,
well, there's so much going on. You don't even know. You won't even see your teammates. You're mainly focusing
oh
on
wow,
what you're doing. So I didn't even see Mitch. Like I never saw Mitch. Like he would have been all the way across the map. I wouldn't even known. Like
wow.
it's just how it is. It's not designed that way. It's like it's a very
I
single player game, even though it's a multiplayer.
I do think that it's very cool that you can jump out your car and run around, and there's those 2 different
That's my
dynamics
favorite
of
part.
gameplay.
That's my favorite part.
I just wish there was more you could do from out of the car,
Me
because
too.
it's kind of like they present you with the option to like jump in cars as they're driving past and hijack
Yeah.
them, but
Yeah.
cars never drive past you. You never get a chance to really do it. At least
Yeah.
in my experience.
Like if you didn't know, Dory, you can jump on someone's car and like mash buttons, and you can either hijack their car or you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
explode, or you can like explode it.
That
You
was
can put
in
a
the
bomb in it.
trailer, right? Or the most recent
Yeah.
gameplay PS4
Yeah.
showcase, whatever.
The PlayStation Direct.
Right.
So the character aspect of it, like every character has their own special car. So after a while, you can like unlock the car, and they all have their own abilities. But like, I maybe I didn't put enough time into it, but it was just kind of confusing trying to like memorize every skill set. So it's kind of a game you have to like Overwatch, like kind of like Overwatch, where you have to like put time into it to like memorize what characters do what. Otherwise, you're kind of just like free. You don't know what you're doing. You're kind of just you're winging everything.
Yeah.
That was me. So
That's do they have that much of an impact though, like the different cars and stuff? Because they all have different abilities, right?
yeah, it's like it makes a difference like a little bit, but mainly the game is just like running in the cars and like
Because that's
you
the thing
can
with like Overwatch, for example. Every
yeah
character is entirely different from the ground up. Like they've all got different attacks, different abilities, and everything. With Destruction All Stars, the core is still you're driving a car and you need to hit your car into
yeah
the other enemy cars.
yeah that's what I mean. It's like it doesn't really make a difference. Like, even a regular car can beat like a special car pretty easily if you hit them you just hit them on the side, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's a cooler concept on paper than in execution, I think. Like I think it's a
Did
really cool
y'all
idea, but go ahead.
did y'all feel like the differences between the main characters were actually like significant? Did they affect the way you played the game? Or
No, exactly the same. Every character, right? Because Mitch and I played pretty much every character. We played like probably like 10 matches or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, we went through every character, and pretty much all of them felt the same to me. Like I know they had special moves in their own cars and stuff, but at the end of the day, it was me just like running around, running into people, and then losing my car, and then having to run to another car, and wall running and things like that.
Yeah, I guess to stick with the Overwatch comparison, imagine Overwatch if the only difference between the characters, like if the characters were all completely identical except for their ultimate abilities.
Yeah, that's what it's exactly what it's like. Because these Overwatch, all the characters play very differently,
Yeah.
but in this game, no, it's exactly the same.
Which I guess there's not much they can do about that on the grounds that it's a car-based game, but that's a very inherent sort of design flaw, I feel.
Yeah, this game needs more modes, I think. I mean, I know it's early, but you have to sell people on this game because if people move on, these kind of games die pretty quick. You know what I mean? So it's like you only have how many modes are there? Like 2, 3, something like that.
4. There's 4 modes, I think.
4, okay. But they felt very similar. It's like the same. At the end of the day, it's like
How much of it did you play in the end?
Like maybe like 2 to 3 hours.
All right.
Although I played with Mitch for like maybe an hour and a half. So I decided to give it a second chance, but yeah, it didn't click with me. It's not bad. It's just something like you can play for an hour, like maybe a couple matches a day, and get you scratch your itch, and then you're done with it. You know what I mean? It's not something you can play for like 10 hours a day or anything like that.
I did find it frustrating just in the way that like it's difficult with these vehicle-based combat games, and I find this with like dogfighting games as well, like Ace Combat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Star Wars Squadrons in the multiplayer. It's always very difficult to hit enemy people when you need to like physically hit them with the car or something like that. Or you
I was
need to
gonna
move
say
them line
that.
of sight.
Yeah, because there's a lot of moments where I just barely miss people. Like I'm like charging right at them, and like I just miss them by an inch, and it's like it makes all the difference because I end up running into a wall and stuff. It's like really difficult to like really nail a car.
So the
For at least
controls,
for me,
the controls
yeah,
are kind of like mixed.
yeah. I'm always missing the cars. Like I hit them directly, and I'm just somehow they always seem to like time it where I just miss it by an inch, always.
Well, Dory,
So
you know Vin Diesel's Wheelman on PS3.
I've
oh,
heard legend. I've heard tales.
They have a mechanic in that game where when you're in your car, you can shunt it like left or right into other cars to take them out.
Yeah.
And this steals that mechanic straight from that game.
I can't believe it. Vin Diesel, let's get a lawsuit together, my man, and
Let's.
we're gonna nail these suckers. We're gonna hit these guys so hard they're gonna wish they had patented the Nemesis system.
Absolutely.
now don't get me wrong.
Topical joke.
I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I generally don't like racing games, but I do love arcadey car games.
Yeah.
So I was hoping this game would, give me like a Burnout feel or something like that, a little more. Like focus on like the wreck. Like it'd be cool if there was like a replay camera and stuff like that.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, like
I feel like they should have gone like a Twisted Metal. Granted, I've
Yeah.
never played Twisted Metal, but I feel like they should have gone a more Twisted Metal route with like weapons. Those games have
Absolutely.
weapons, right?
yeah, it does. Like they should have like machine guns and stuff on there. Like that's what this game's kind of missing. It's like the whole game is just running in the cars. Like there's really nothing.
Because if you
else.
gave, if they gave, and I'm trying to design the game for them here, but if they gave like every vehicle, every character different weapons,
Yeah,
that would give that, and make them play different.
That's
Yeah,
what Twisted
that
Metal
plus
does.
the special ability would be
Yeah.
at least a decent combo, and have the cars have different stats or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It's just too. Everything's the same. That's the problem.
Did you all ever get out of your cars? Was that ever a thing? Did you
A lot.
ever do
You
that?
get out of your car all the
A lot
time.
of times, 'cause when your car gets totally damaged, you kind of
Yeah.
like you get thrown out of the car and you kind of have to
Gotcha.
run for.
And
run for another-
the car gets destroyed in only a few hits.
Yeah, it's pretty. You
Right,
lose your car
right.
pretty quick. Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever
Which also-
seize anybody's car? Like jump out of your car and land in their car?
I didn't. It's tough to do that because you need to be like right on top of them,
Yeah.
and so
I've had-
basically they need to drive into you.
I
Were you and Mitch able to do it?
Not so much. It's kind of hard to like, jump on someone's car because it's like you have to
Gotcha.
like perfectly time it, and there's so much going on
Yeah.
around
I
you.
mean, that's realistic, right? I mean, who
Yeah.
wants to jump on someone else's car?
But I did run over a lot of people, like because people when people are walking, like they don't see the back behind them because the camera is like in the front. So
Right.
I always run people over from the back. So I did that a lot, but
Great.
yeah, I got most of my points doing that, honestly.
Yeah.
So basically, what happens is you hit a car, you get points, and then like if you keep hitting cars, you get combos, and then you have to you have to drive your car into the middle portal to get the score in, and I didn't know that at first, so I got like 100 combo, and like I ruined it because I didn't know you had to drive into the portal and destroy your car to cash it in. So
Ooh. I
I didn't know that at first. I was wondering like why I was at the bottom of the leaderboard even though I was like kicking ass. And
That's rough.
So but I got the hang of it. I did pretty all right, honestly. Like for like not knowing what I was doing. But yeah, I did all right.
Well, anyway, yeah. So that,
Pretty much
I mean, worth a try though. If it's free on PlayStation Plus, so it's worth downloading, I'd say.
Thank God it's free. Like if that was $70, man.
Oof.
Yeah,
It's fine. I have a friend actually who won a copy of it. Where back when they were planning to sell it, I had a friend who won a copy of it in some competition, and then they announced it was going to be free. I don't know if he like got a different game or something like that, but that's a tough break.
I wonder if you trade in the GameStop. I wonder how much the value would be. I wonder if they would even accept it. I don't know.
Who knows?
I'll give you 5 cents.
Are they actually like selling the game? Or, by the way, once it goes off PS Plus, do we know?
I don't think they're selling it, aren't right? Like I think they completely made it plus only, didn't they? Something
But
like that.
that's the interesting thing is it's only PS.
I
It's
think
not free. It's not free to play. It's just on PS Plus for 2 months.
Yeah, I'm not. Is it in the store? I don't think I've seen it, but I don't think I've been paying attention. But I feel like they took it out of the store completely.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, anyway,
I really don't know.
yeah. But how about this, Seb? You've been playing Control Ultimate Edition, which is also on PS Plus this month.
Yeah, I got the platinum. I was like in the top 10 fastest platinums, I think.
Wow, quite bragging.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I'm legit, I beat it very fast. I spent
Yeah.
all day playing it when it came out. It's a very addicting game, especially when you get the flight. The flight makes the game like 10
Yeah.
times better.
The telekinesis is when the game finally clicked for me, which is
Yeah.
disappointing because that's right at the end.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, it was a grind up until that point for me. It didn't click with me.
yeah, the story is pretty. It's like really confusing. Like, it was such a. The story just didn't click with me. It was just kind of like.
No, yeah, I wasn't interested in the story
It was
at
just
all.
blah. And the villain and the enemies and stuff are just like so overdone. You know, shadow enemies and ghost enemies. I feel like I've done that a million times. I mean, obviously this is made by Remedy, right? And the people that did Alan Wake, and there's Alan Wake cameo and stuff, and there's a lot of shadow creatures.
Same
in that
universe as Alan Wake, yeah.
Same universe, yeah. He's even in the game, but spoilers, I guess, but it's a cameo. But yeah, but it's the same like enemies. It's like shadow enemies. It's such a bland type of enemy. And basically, every enemy in the game is like a possessed soldier. So yeah, the combat's fun, but it's just like bland.
Then particle effects though.
Yeah, in terms of like the animation and the look of the game it's totally gorgeous. I love the surrealness of it, especially like the scene, especially in the hallways that like totally kept shifting, and then like all the buildings were like it was very Doctor Strange.
If you had to describe the sort of building and let's say the architecture of Control in one word, Seb, what would it be?
The architecture of the building,
Yeah.
I would say it's very Metroidvania.
Oh.
I don't know what the joke you were trying to lead up to, but
He's trying to make you say brutalism or brutalist, which is what I was thinking. I think Control is a little overrated. I like it, but I think especially at the end, it has some really brutal checkpoints when you're in that last mission. That really kind of aggravated me. But I think the game's overall really cool. I love my favorite things about it are the brutalist architecture and the basically like design of the stages and stuff like that, or the places where you go. The art direction is what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, my favorite thing about it was sort of a derivative of the art direction. I think sort of the whole sort of X-Files vibe. That was what I liked about it. Like they had the way they implement live action cutscenes as well.
Yeah,
and everything like that.
Yeah, those were all great. It when I say Metroidvania, it is Metro. You look at the map; it's like the whole game is a Metroidvania, but in the 3D. Like
the map sucks though.
Map is horrible.
Yeah, the map isn't very good. That's right. I didn't like the map either.
Yeah, the map's horrible in that game. But when I say it's Metroidvania, because the game is full of like the way the map looks is something I would see in like Hollow Knight or Ori or something. It's like legit like a Metroidvania, and like there's a lot of hidden areas. So so there's a lot of like backtracking and going back to the same area, and a new door opens or there's a new hidden area and things like that. So you got to do that for the platinum, and so it felt like I was playing like a Metroidvania, but the like I said, the combat was really good. Especially the powers felt really pretty awesome. Like I like making a shield out of the rocks and telekinesis. Cool. I like you can like mind control the enemies and things like that. So you can do a lot of stuff with it. But yeah, like the story was kind of lackluster, and there's a lot of sections I didn't like with the hallways, where you had to like solve the puzzles in the hallways. It was like I don't know, it was like 6 or 7 times they did that. You know, talking about when you're in the inn, and it's like 3 rooms, and you had to move items around in those rooms to match everything to ring the bell and all that. They did it like 7 times, and I was like, it really didn't add anything to the story.
One of those times I almost gave up on the game because I couldn't figure out what I needed to do.
Yeah, and it ruined the pacing completely. Like like they didn't serve any purpose. I mean, I'm sure there's a metaphorical reason they're there and stuff, but that's like maybe like a couple times have been fine, but it was like 7 times they did that. But yeah, overall it was a really fun game. It's a good game. I enjoyed planning it, but it definitely has like pretty like forgettable aspects to it, just like generic things I've seen 100 times.
Also, the guy who played Casper Darling was snubbed at the Game Awards 2019 for best performance. Absolutely snubbed.
I did like Casper Darling a lot.
Yeah, he was a nominee and he lost out to Mads Mikkelsen. Can you fucking believe
come
it?
on, Mads Mikkelsen?
I know, he's Hollywood, you know? That's
I love Matt
ridiculous.
Nicholson, but in Death Stranding, he's just like he doesn't really like he didn't really do much in that game. He's just
At
like
least Norman Reedus didn't win. That would
well,
have
him
been ridiculous.
yeah.
Yeah, but Seb, you've also been playing Little Nightmares too. You've been playing a lot of stuff, man. You've been
Oh
playing a
yeah.
lot of stuff.
Look, let's just turn this into Seb's
I
hour
didn't
here.
I
Come on.
didn't even mention that I was playing Hades too, but
Oh yeah.
I'm playing a lot of games. But
Yeah,
Alright.
James doesn't want to hear about the good word, so
yeah. You mean
We're
the
done
game?
with that. We're done with that.
I mean the second best game of the year? No. But Little Nightmares 2, did you guys play the first one?
No.
No. Well, if you played the first one, it plays very similar to that one. It's just better graphics, better performance, better like it just kind of ups the ante on it. But
Now help me out
if you,
here. Help me out here. It's a 2D side-scrolling horror game.
it's not really 2D. It's very 3D now.
Okay, but
Like,
it's a
there's lot of, like,
side-scrolling horror game.
yeah, it is side scrolling, but there's a lot of 3D elements, like because the hallways you can go up and down. There's a lot of like the camera. It's kind of like Crash Bandicoot, kind of like.
Can I
You
take
know what I'm
photos in
talking
it? Is there a photo mode?
about? Photo mode? No.
Oh,
There's no photo mode.
okay. Well, they just
Not for
lost
me.
my
At
sale.
least I didn't pay attention to that.
They just lost my sale. So.
But basically, yeah, it's a horror side scroller platformer. It's kind of like Limbo or Inside, but like more 3D. The enemies are very creepy. It's kind of has like this surreal, like they kind of have like this weird. How can I describe it? Everybody's kind of like leather faced looking. Like everybody has like a deformed body. Everybody's tall, like very like because you're like this little person in this big world. You're like 5 inches tall, and everybody's like 20 feet. So it's like you're constantly being chased by people way bigger than you, and so a lot of the game is like climbing on chairs and climbing on like buckets. Like Unravel was, where like you're like this little person and like you're climbing on real life stuff,
Yeah.
like a chair or a bucket or whatever.
A Toy
Anyway,
Story kind of.
Yeah,
Dealio.
like that.
yeah, I was thinking Toy Story too.
So a lot of the game is like you have to sneak by these people because they will eat you or kill you in brutal ways, and the
Lovely.
game has a very creepy, very eerie atmosphere. If you do not like horror games, you will not like this game. Because you will
Now
get
I have a
creeped out.
question.
Mhm.
How do you make a side scroller scary?
Yeah, the enemies are creepy. The atmosphere is very airy. You're constantly being chased, like constantly, and I'll give you an example with like there's a section like we were in a school, and all the kids are like creepy dolls, and there's a teacher section, and you're in a classroom, and she like looks at her desk, and then you have to crawl under the desk, and wait for her to turn around, and then to get by her, and you have to like wait. You go by the cues of when she's like writing on the chalkboard to like move and get behind her, and then like when she does catch you, she has a long neck that goes like 20 like 100 yards, and it just like it's very creepy looking.
That
There's
does
one
sound
section
creepy.
where she sees you and she puts her head in the vent, and she like tries to eat you.
Jesus.
Like look it up, it's very creepy. It's really well done.
I
And
kind of
then
want to
there's,
play this now.
and there's like the Slender Man character, like he's like very based on Slender Man, and the way he chases you, he like teleports and shit. So yeah, it's really good. I love it. The story can be confusing, like the first game. It's kind of like very metaphorical, ambiguous. Kind of like it's like open to your interpretation.
Sure.
But yeah, like if you didn't play the first game, you can play this game. It won't ruin your experience. You don't have to know the story or whatever. But I think you'll have more of a connection to 6, which is the little girl that wears the yellow raincoat. Although she's not the main character. There's a boy now. I forget his name. But he was a pretty cool character.
Seven.
He wears like this paper bag over his head. What?
Is his name Seven? I was making a joke.
It starts with an O. I just can't think of it on the top of my head. But
Oh yeah,
yeah.
0 and then 7.
Oliver.
No.
Omar.
Anyway, like, is this something you guys would be interested in, or?
I might be.
Yeah.
I do enjoy horror games, and I enjoy horror more generally. So maybe.
Okay. Well, have you guys played Limbo or Inside?
Yeah,
I bounced off Limbo. That game's depressing.
I like Limbo. I didn't love it, but I still want to play Inside. Like I liked it enough that I still want to play. I haven't played Inside yet.
This
but
is
I want
definitely
to.
more. This is definitely more Inside than Limbo, because Limbo is like, very like 2D black. Everything's like black and
Right.
there's no detail to anything. The Inside's very detailed in the surrounding stuff. This is probably more like Unravel, I guess you could say, but there's a lot of like puzzle platforming, and there's a lot of chase sequences. So it's a nice like 3-hour game. I got the platinum pretty quick, like 5 hours. So the trophy list is actually really easy. Like last game, you had to like not die the whole game, kind of like Limbo, which was a real pain in the ass.
Yeah,
but in this game, there's no penalty to dying. So this platinum, probably most people that play the game is gonna have the platinum if they care about trophies. Because most of the trophies are just like collectibles and doing miss trophies. So like, but the hidden like collectibles are very well hidden. So you probably should use a guide if you don't care about replaying the game over and over again, because like they're really hard to find. So, but if you follow a guide, pretty quick platinum. People are probably gonna speed run this game in like 2.5 hours. Probably less than that, but yeah.
Yeah, probably an hour or an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like fun though.
Yeah, if you get creeped out, I don't recommend it. But if you don't mind that and you love that kind of stuff like I do, you'll really love this game. But I do think there's a great artistic feel to it that even if you don't like horror, you can really dig it.
I think I'll wait to be chased until it's a 8-foot tall vampire lady later in the year.
But for $30, I don't know if I can totally recommend it for $30. If you have the income and it's not really an issue, go for it. But like this is a game you can wait. Like I got Little Nightmares 1 for like $8, and the first game's on PS Now. So
yeah, so I saw it on sale a while ago for £4.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap now. So
yeah.
So I expect the same in a couple months.
Cool.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. I might pick it up. Now we come to a segment we call Screenshot of the Week. So I'm going to show you guys a screenshot, and you're just going to tell me what you think of it. So here's your screenshot of the week.
A horse and a girl and her horse.
Nice.
Okay, next news.
Very green.
Now we're news of the week.
God damn it, Seb.
Ratchet and Clank. You guys like Ratchet and Clank, right? Dory, you like Ratchet and Clank?
I do.
Yeah.
I like Ratchet and Clank, which is good because the new one, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, is launching on June 11th.
Called it.
Amazing.
Okay, but you may have called that, Seb, but I also called that they were going to announce the release date this week, so.
That's fair, but you said it was good. You said it like there's a chance. No, but yeah. Honestly, what I'm thinking, because the Lombaxes are like kind of extinct. Like they're very like, there's only a few left in the universe. I think the girl, what's her name? Rosie or?
Well, that's the thing. They haven't revealed her name yet, but on the PlayStation blog post where they announced the different editions of the game and that sort of thing, they ended it like talking about her name. Yeah. Saying like we're not going to tell you her name yet, but we think you'll be feeling Rosie soon, is what they said.
So since Lombax, go ahead. Sorry.
Her name's probably going to be like Rosie or Rose or something like that.
But yeah, the female. So the Lombaxes are pretty extinct, like they're very endangered. So like, I feel like she's like an alter. I feel like she's Ratchet in a different universe. Like she's like a version of Ratchet. So
that
I think
seems to be the case. Yeah.
That's what I think it's going to be. I don't think she's a character in that universe. I think
she's definitely from a different sort of dimension. Yeah.
I think she is I think she is Ratchet, but like a female version from a different universe. And I think you're gonna play as her like half the game. I think it's gonna be a situation. Yeah. Because I don't know if you guys know the context of Ratchet and Clank. Like I said, the Lombaxes are endangered, so it's like seeing another Lombax is very. There's really none around. I mean, unless you go by the sequels that they did, there's tons of sequels, but I think they totally scrapped that whole story now. So
yeah, I've only played Ratchet and Clank 2016, to be fair.
Yeah.
Which is a shame of mine. That's on my list of shame.
And if you want to see something funny, look at all the game titles for Ratchet and Clank, because they all have I know. They all have potty humor. every game.
Yeah.
I mean, the only one I've played is Tools of Destruction, and I have 2016, which I will play at some point this year.
They're all on PS now if you want to try them out, but you have to stream it. So that's sucks.
Gotcha.
Yeah. They also have a photo mode in they confirmed that there's a photo mode in the game, which I'm excited about.
Of course there would be.
I'd hoped there would be. I wasn't sure though, because it doesn't seem like the kind of game that would maybe necessarily they'd put a photo mode in. But I'm glad they have one. I wonder if it's going to be like Miles Morales, where you can manipulate the light sources and stuff like that.
I feel like it's going to be. I think it's going to be a standard of every Sony first party now.
I don't know if it'll be the same across all studios, because they all, like, Naughty Dog does the same sort of photo mode in all their games, but though that's totally different from the photo mode in Insomniac games, for instance.
It's gonna be different, but I think a photo mode is kind of like the standard now. It's kind of
having a photo mode, yeah, that'll be like a standard across all the games.
Yeah, it probably won't. I mean, it's the same company that did developers that did Miles Morales, so I expect it to be high quality photo mode. So
yeah, I just hope you can like do the same as in Miles Morales, and it's on the same engine, sure. So
yeah, it might be a safe bet, I think.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's like a simple process for them to implement that, and then that would mean that they would do it because it's on the same engine. But I guess we'll find out, because they'll probably market that later on, and they'll do like a trailer like they did for Spider-Man and everything with the photo mode.
Yep.
But alas, yeah, exciting times. June 11th, Ratchet Clank comes out at 70 fucking quid.
Yeah, that's a lot for a Ratchet game, because the first one was 40.
I was hoping it would be like this 50 quid price point, because it's maybe it's a huge Ratchet Clank game, but like Ratchet Clank 2016 I think launched at a lower price point.
They did 40.
Yeah, and I don't know, I wouldn't need that. I just need a not fucking 70 quid like they've been marking up all their
it's probably
prices.
Not if you want to be, it's probably not worth $70 at the end of the day. It's probably gonna
I mean,
be
none of them are really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on the game. Like, I guess you can argue like Red Dead Redemption or GTA would be worth $70 or something like that.
I think it's subjective. That's the thing. I think it depends.
Yeah, it's very
I think some different things will be worth 70 quid to different people. I just think 70 quid as the standard is stupid. But we've done that. We've done that conversation.
I think it doesn't hurt us as much. It hurts like people in Australia or Canada a lot more.
Well, it hurts in the UK. It hurts us as well, because 70 quid.
It does, because your games used to be cheaper than us.
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, they used to be the same, pretty much. Around about the same. But
I think it was a little cheaper, right?
Like with exchange rates and stuff, it was. Yeah. We had it. I think it was even a little bit more expensive, because you were $60. You were $60, and we were £50 or £55, which was still a little bit more expensive, I think, because the pound's more valuable than the dollar. But having it at £70 and $70, like side by side, not accounting for exchange rates, we're getting robbed. But
you are, yeah.
That's that we've done that conversation umpteen times already. The point is, 70 quid is steep. It feels steep for this game, and the game's gonna be the game will be fantastic. There's no doubt about it. But 70 quid for a 3D platform, and I don't want to say that 3D platformers are not worth as much money as the big third person shooters and what have you. But like, it stings harder with this one. But anyway.
It's nice to have a game near my birthday for once. June's always like a dry month.
Yeah.
I think The Last of Us, the first one, came out in June, right?
Part 2 came out in June as well, after the delays.
It did? Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it came out in April, but then I looked it up yesterday or something.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
But yeah. Ratchet Clank June 11th. That's exciting. Also, The Last of Us HBO show, which I'm sure we're all excited for, right? No?
I wasn't say excited. I'm very interested.
I'm at curious levels. Give me some trailers. Give me some synopsis. Maybe
I was at curious levels before, but after this new news, I'm at peak hype. It's not sustainable.
Please tell me more about this news.
This news you haven't heard? Okay, so they cast Joel and Ellie. What do you know? And do you know who they cast? Do you know who they cast as Joel and Ellie?
Let's see.
Well, I tell you, they cast as Ellie as Ellie, they cast the Mandalorian's Pedro Pascal.
I was gonna make up some shit.
And as Joel, they cast the I believe 17-year-old Bella Ramsay.
Yes, 17. I had to look it up as well.
Did you mix them up on purpose?
Yes.
Okay. just making sure.
No, so yeah, though they did cast those two, but in the obviously the proper roles.
Personally, go ahead, James.
Well, no, I was going to ask, what do you think about the casting? Thumbs up.
It's good. I mean, honestly, Pedro Pascal should just be. I know this joke's already been made, but I don't care. I'm going to make it again. Should just be the steward of every orphan kid throughout all of the different series, because at this point, that's apparently what he's just going to be doing with his life. Whether it's in The Mandalorian or now in The Last of Us, I mean, he's just the dad figure who's very wholesome. I think it's great. I love Pedro Pascal in The Mandalorian. I think he's wonderful. I don't remember Bella Ramsey in Game of Thrones.
Really?
I'm sure she was great. It's been a long time since I've watched it.
I
stopped at like season 6 or something.
Here's what gets me. Okay?
Nice show.
In Game of Thrones, she played this very sort of mean little girl.
Yeah,
like she was.
I wouldn't say mean. She's assertive. She was a leader.
She seemed very mean. She had a mean face on her.
No, she wasn't mean. She was just like she was tough. She didn't pull up with bullshit.
Tough, mean, potato. Listen, I don't know. I see a lot of people saying like, "Oh, she'll be a great Ellie because she played like a tough character in that." But anyone who's saying that, I feel, doesn't understand Ellie's character at all, because those are totally different characters. Like, totally different. Ellie's not mean. Ellie's not tough. Like, I mean, she's sort of, she's, you know, she's tough, but she's not like tough.
I don't think Bella's gonna play Ellie like that though. That was just.
Oh no, probably not. But I see that comparison a lot. It gets
she's confident, but like what I see is the confidence that Ellie has. She can do, because Ellie is very assertive. She doesn't pull up a bullshit. You know, she's not afraid to speak her mind.
Well, what sold me on her, because I wasn't sure because I'd only seen her in Game of Thrones, so I wasn't sure. But the thing that sold me on it was I saw a video of her playing guitar and singing, and it felt a lot closer to like Ellie than obviously the Game of Thrones stuff.
Mm.
And she's a good singer as well, and she can play guitar, so
that's good.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, was it my first choice? Did I expect that? No, but HBO likes. I don't know what is. HBO loves their caster in all their shows now, because she's in His Dark Matter. She's kind of crazy. She's kind of crazy in that, but.
Yeah, isn't His Dark Materials a
material?
BBC,
I would say
BBC
Matter.
thing?
No, it's HBO.
No, I'm sure it's a BBC.
Matter.
Look, so I want to clarify why I'm only at curious levels. All right, so I honestly, for me, I just feel like, and maybe James is gonna hard disagree here, but I really feel like it doesn't need a TV show. I feel like Last of Us is already incredibly critically acclaimed. So many people who aren't even into video games know about it. I just don't see the point of turning into unless we're expanding the lore or we're doing some sort of in-between month that wasn't with Joel and Ellie and Neil Druckmann really likes it. Like, I just don't see the point. I'm not saying it's going to... I said the same thing about Last of Us Part 2, and now it's one of my favorite video games of all time. So, like, I don't know. Like, maybe they're going to surprise me and this is going to be amazing. I'm totally up for that. But also, I don't have HBO Max. I also don't have HBO Max. So that makes me even less excited for it.
I have HBO Max, but yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I don't think the show needs to exist at all. I don't need an adaptation of already a cinematic experience, because you're just gonna. I mean, you can expand on it and do a little more details and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be a copy and paste of the story we know, right? Like you I mean, I guess I can't spoil the ending of the first game, but we're gonna see the ending of the first game. Like, probably, right? They're not going to change it, I would think, right? If it's an adaptation.
I'd imagine not. Because that's iconic, that ending.
So isn't it kind of like, when you kind of know what's going to happen to these characters already, doesn't it kind of ruin the experience when there's no tension? Because you know they're not going to die or nothing like that.
I think it'll be entertaining all the same, but I don't think it's
entertaining.
I don't think it's for us anyway. I think it's about bringing it to a new audience.
But like I told you on Discord, I think there's a lot of overlap. I think, because I can't see like boomers or people like HBO's audience tuning into a zombie show even though it's on HBO.
Was
You know what I mean?
the HBO's audience boomers? Is that what's going on?
No. Most people are like in their 30s to like 20s into like 50s, but like, so the people that in that age group already played The Last of Us or know a lot of it already.
The thing
likely,
is,
I think a small minority doesn't know what Last of Us is.
If they do it right, they're not going to market it as a zombie show. They're going to market it as like a drama.
It's still going to be a post-apocalyptic show, which has a certain audience. Like certain people are not going to be turned off by that.
I definitely think there's not as much overlap as you think. There's definitely going to be a lot of people who watch this who haven't played the games.
It's not so much they play the game; it's more so like they know a lot of it. Like it's to that age group probably has a rule on like because most people are gamers nowadays. So I think so. If the main audience of HBO is in their 20s to 50s, it's most likely that they played it or know of Last of Us very well. And so I think more people know already. So that's why I'm more of the opinion that I'd rather see different characters than.
Okay, so listen, we really got into this before on Discord off the air, but like, I didn't bring this up with you now because that's so stupid. Having The Last of Us without Joel and Ellie is not The Last of Us. If you take Joel and Ellie out of The Last of Us, the name is meaningless. Ellie and Joel are The Last of Us. If you take them out, it's just you may as well make it a Walking Dead spin-off. It's just another zombie show. There's nothing.
Dead except them.
There's nothing interesting about that universe apart from those characters. There's like nothing.
There's other characters in that universe that are interesting besides Joel and Ellie. Like I find Bill very interesting as a character, or the. But then it's not.
But that's not The Last of Us. Like the Last of Us is a story about these two characters.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If I'm assuming the show's gonna be 8 to 10 episodes, and they're all gonna be an hour long each. There's no way you can focus on Joel and Ellie the whole show. There's gonna be a lot of side characters that they add. They're gonna focus on, and they're gonna have their own.
Well, they don't need to add the characters. Like there's plenty of characters in the game that they can use. You got Bill, you got Henry and Sam, you got Tommy, you got Tess.
I still don't think that's enough to fill in like 8 hours of content. Like
if you use one, because the game is like a road trip itself basically, and it fits perfectly into the TV show mold because you have a different place, a different set of characters every episode.
Yeah, it's just like a lot of the game is like sneaking and game mechanics, like throwing a bottle and distracting an enemy and killing them. Most of the game is that, so you got to fill in that content.
Obviously they need to flesh stuff out, but like there's loads of wiggle room there. There's loads of stuff to work with.
What I'm saying is going to be new characters anyway that they're going to have to give backstories and explain. So it's not going to just be like the same characters only. It's probably going to be. So I don't feel like you have to have Joel and Ellie in The Last of Us, even though you do disagree.
I strongly disagree.
I know what you're saying because it feel like any other zombie show, but that's the zombie genre in general anyway. The show is still gonna feel like every other zombie show.
No, it's not, because that's what makes The Last of Us special is those two characters. The whole story of the game.
Because it's well written, but But you can make two new characters completely and write them really well, and
then you lose all the magic. If you take two new characters and you write them really well, that's still two different characters. That's still not Joel and Ellie. That's still not The Last of Us.
Yeah, but the magic is your attachment to those characters. But if they introduced whole new characters and they were just as well written and iconic and beloved, like what's the difference? You know what I mean?
The difference is that's not The Last of Us.
Well. Okay, so I feel like we're going in circles here, but I'll just what I'll add to this is that I think so. I just finished watching Adventure Time, right? And I thought it was really great. And I won't say too much about the finale, but in the finale they do introduce two new characters, and they make it seem like they're going to be a big part of the series going forward, and whatever that means. I think if the people at Cartoon Network actually did decide to go forward with Adventure Time. Have those two characters be the center as opposed to Jake and Finn, I would still probably watch that show because it's the same people and those characters can be interesting just like Jake and Finn. So that's how I feel.
But they probably wouldn't. They probably wouldn't call that Adventure Time. They call it an Adventure Time spinoff or something like that. But like,
it's still
it's still the same medium. It's still the same story that's extending to these new. It's like The Last of Us Part 2. They introduced new characters in that. It's the same series. But they're just extending it. Like, this is an adaptation of this. Like, here's the thing, right? You're thinking of The Last of Us as a zombie game, but it's not a zombie game. It's a game about two people who form a connection over the course of the story. It's a game about these two people. It's not a game about zombies. It's a game that happens to have zombies in it, but it's not a game about zombies.
Yes, but like you can have two other characters that have the former bond too,
and then it's not The Last of Us because it's.
Like, I think you just have an attachment to certain characters. Like I think that's what it is.
Well, no, because the game is made for these characters. The game is about these characters. It's like. God, I try to think
the game focuses on them, but the world itself. When I think of Last of Us, I think like the fireflies and the woods and all these survivors. There's like 7 billion people on the planet. There's no way you can just. Like, it has to be Joel and Ellie. Like I feel like The Last of Us doesn't just mean the two of them. I mean, I'm sure it does in a way, but what I'm saying is like, it's not. They're just two people in a larger world. So you.
Okay,
could,
what
I know I know it feel like a spinoff, but it doesn't mean it would be. You know what I mean?
But what about the Batman movies, right? Let's take them for example. If you take Batman out of the Batman movies, there's still interesting characters in that, and that's still a world that exists. But you've taken out the thing that makes it what it is. And that's what you do if you take Joel and Ellie out of The Last of Us.
Well,
You're taking out the thing that makes it what it is.
Well, the Joker was great.
But that wouldn't be Batman. That would be the Joker. You see, you're taking out the thing that makes it Batman. You're taking out the thing that makes it The Last of Us.
So wait, but it's not. Do you think Gotham Knights isn't a Batman game?
Or I don't think it's a Batman. No, it's not a Batman game. It's a Batman. It's set in the same universe as Batman. Though. It's set in the same universe as Batman, but it's not a Batman game because it doesn't have Batman in it.
Well, as far as we know, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
No,
I think we're going in circles. I don't really think it matters. I don't think it. I think we all know it's probably going to focus on Joel and Ellie because
I mean it does.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, and they've been cast and right. But I'm saying like they're probably going to be the major focus. So it doesn't really matter if we only see them as the important thing too. I'm sure Bill will be there and Tess and all the rest. And you know, if it's any good, great. If it's not, whatever. I have the games. So it doesn't bother me either way.
My point is I just don't think it's needed to be made. I really don't need an adaptation of something I already experienced that I love.
Yeah, but again, Seb, I think HBO is just thinking broader past people who are really in love with The Last of Us.
No, I get that. No, I totally get that. But it's just
I see your point.
I do expect quality. I do expect I do expect visual quality at least. So even if the writing is like disappointing or whatever, I don't think it will be because Neil Druckmann's going to be part of it. I think the director of Chernobyl's doing it, or did he drop out of that?
The showrunner of Chernobyl, Chris Mazin, he's still doing it. The
So,
director of Chernobyl, he's not directing it anymore. It's now the guy who directed Beanpole, which is some indie movie that's apparently really good. But I actually watched the trailer for Beanpole, and that has a very similar vibe.
So I expect. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I expect the show to be good. I think it's unnecessary, but I think it would be good. I just can't say I'm hyped for it because I just don't think it needs to exist.
The thing that I think I'll get held up on personally is the fact that like this is the first time that I'm going to have watched an adaptation of an IP that I'm personally attached to. Like I don't read books or comic books, so any time there's been like an adaptation of any of these things, it's not like this has been my first entry into it. I've not read the source material, so this is the first time that there's been something that I am very much into that's been adapted, and what I'm going to get hung up on, I think, if anything, is going to be not being able to get past the fact that these characters look and sound different to what I expect them to look and sound like.
Yeah.
So hopefully they do a good job of like immersing me in that world and helping me to look past that.
Yeah, it's tougher to adapt a video game to a movie because they're both visual mediums. Like when you adapt a book or a comic to a visual medium, it translates better because you don't hear their voices. So like when Mark Hamill creates the Joker voice that's iconic now, like that's we all associate that voice now with the Joker, but that wasn't the case for like decades. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And now, like Harry Potter, we think of Daniel Radcliffe now, and like you can't see anyone else in the role and things like that. I do so you'll have that uncanny valley feeling in the beginning, I think, but I do think you'll get used to it pretty quick. Honestly,
I hope so.
It does happen when you see your characters that you love on screen. He's like, it feels weird at first because you're so used to hearing Troy Baker and stuff, but like It'll be fine. I think. I think he'll. Pedro's going to do a great job. I think he fits the look. But like another problem with adaptations though is you end up with people that get mad that it's not accurate. Because like if they made Joel black, a lot of people would have been mad. It's just how it is, right? No, I don't want to get. We don't have to get in debate about race and all that. But when you open that door to like, that's not my Joel, that's not my Ellie. You know what I mean? So
I mean, to be fair,
that
Pedro Pascal is not exactly white.
He's Hispanic. He's from Chile.
Hispanic, so yeah, and I'm pretty sure Joel is white as white can be. So
yeah, he's a southern like redneck kind of guy.
Yeah. So they've already changed Joel as a character.
Yeah. I actually rented.
I'm okay with to be completely.
Yeah. I actually rented the Kingsman sequel just last night to watch it and see what like his Texan accent was like, because he does a Texan accent in that movie. It's a very different vibe of a Texan accent. It's very over exaggerated and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean he pulls it off. I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, it's just that Joel's race doesn't really matter at all, but there's certain mannerisms that there are different between white Southerners and black Southerners that there would have been a difference. Like there's certain things there's general aspects of it, like the dialect, the music they may listen to, things like that. And then you have to change you have to change Tommy to a black character, and then you have to make this sub story that they're adopted or stepbrothers or whatever. So it kind of adds that's the problem with adaptations, is just like you're kind of like constrained to this like mob mentality of people that has to have an accurate adaptation. Because I've been in the situations where like a good example for me is like Percy Jackson, which I love those books, but the movies are just like take so much liberties with those books and that ruins it completely for me. So it's like, it's just like when you have newer characters, you have more of a freedom to do more stuff with it. So that's my only concern with the show. So,
that's the thing as well. I'm not a huge Witcher fan.
Yeah,
but I played The Witcher 3 before watching the series, and I found myself enjoying the series well enough.
Yeah, I mean they're based on the books, the series, but yeah.
Sure, but I could divorce myself from The Witcher 3's like what's this, Geralt from the one that Henry Cavill plays, and even though that show is not amazing, I enjoyed it enough.
It's just the thing is you don't love Geralt like you love Ellie and Joel.
That's true.
That's the difference. Like when I see Spider-Man, like I love Spider-Man. I know what Spider-Man is and who, like I mean, like I understand his character like to a T, right? So I am very picky of like who I'm looking for. And same thing with Miles now, because Miles has been around for a long time now. It's like, you know what I mean? When you have certain beloved characters, you hold a higher standard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the show might crumble under that pressure, but I at the end of the day, I think the show's going to be good. At
it's in good hands.
I don't think it's going to be terrible. I trust HBO. I think HBO makes really quality content. I just worry is that the first season of the show, I don't know how long they're going to do it. I'm going to assume it's going to be at least 3 seasons or 2. But if it's 2, it's only like a mini series. So I'm going to assume it's a 3, right? My concern with HBO is they always have strong first seasons, like Game of Thrones. Well, Game of Thrones is not an example. The first 4 seasons are great, but like Westworld, great first season, and then the writing just totally went on collapsed, and people hated it. And that's what I worry is the first season going to be the first game, and then like it's going to be a lot of made up filler in between like the first and second game. You know what I mean? And if there's a third season, are they going to expand on the second game, like the climax of the second game? Are people going to like that idea? You know what I mean? So that's my concern: can the writing hold up the standard of the games? You know what I mean? Because can you imagine if they continue the second game, the end of the second game? Because we all agree that we all love the second game, right?
Yeah.
So like, do we want to like a scene where like we see what happens? Well, I don't want to. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how else to word that without spoiling it.
That's okay. But yeah, I see. I mean, what I want to know is whether they're gonna. I don't want them to do a Game of Thrones thing. Like, if they are gonna make a third game, I don't want them to do a Game of Thrones thing where they make the third series of the show before they make the third game, and then we have to find out. We have to see the story in TV before we see it in the game. That'd suck. Yeah,
that's Martin's fault because he still hasn't finished the books. I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to die before he finishes the book, honestly. But he's like an overweight man in the 70s, and oh, I can't say it. Somebody's been dead in the snow for the last like 10 years now. You know, the main character has been dead in the snow for 10 years now in the books.
Yeah.
So so it's like, yeah. So
I will say.
Go ahead.
I will say that I would think I think the way that they're probably going to include the DLC, which the name of which I'm forgetting.
Left Behind.
Left Behind. I think that they're probably going to include that as flashbacks in the first season, probably, because that's where it makes the most sense. I mean, unless we're gonna just get Ellie and Joel's character wholesale in the first season, then the second season is going to have more context through Left Behind.
I reckon they'll just do away with Left Behind. I reckon I just won't touch on it, at least in the first series.
I think they'll have sparse.
I don't think it's necessary.
I think
it's definitely necessary. For a lot of reasons, it's definitely necessary.
It depends how many episodes there is. Let's say there's 10 episodes. It's usually 8 to 10. HBO does. There's probably gonna be one episode totally dedicated to Left Behind.
Yeah, I think it can also just be sparse flashbacks. It doesn't have to be whole episodes. It doesn't even have to be multiple episodes. It could just be every now and then.
I like flashbacks, though, is the thing.
Well, flashback. I think the whole episode is gonna be a flashback. You know what I mean? Like something's gonna happen, and then it's
maybe
like
she has a dream.
Yeah, like
I feel like flashbacks are kind of a cheap thing because it's like you end up divorcing yourself from the narrative.
Sometimes divorce is healthy and necessary, James.
Yeah, but this is where the show becomes a different medium than a game, because you can't follow the game's like total structure completely. You have to mix in flashbacks and like certain sequences. You can't, like, a good example is like the beginning of the game. Like everybody wants like the beginning of the game, like apparently like in the Discord everybody wants the opening scene of the game to be the opening scene of the show, right? Now I get why people want that, because it establishes Joel as like this nice guy before all this happened, right? But I do think that sequence in that game is very game-like, because it has like sequences where you control the camera and you're looking at what's around you and stuff. Like I feel like that works better like in a build-up to like Joel's like connection to Sarah and things like that. So you know what I mean? Like if we see who die right off the bat, like in the beginning, it was great in the game, but like I feel like it would work better in the show if there was build up to it. Like we know it's coming. You know what I mean? But
sure.
I think that works better in a show than a game. Like
you're probably right.
Because in a game, because in the beginning of the game, like you control Sarah, right? But like a game, the difference between a game and a show is you can spend 25 minutes walking around the house, looking at notes and the fridge and things like that. You can't do that in the show, obviously. It'd be boring, right? You don't watch Sarah look at the fridge for 20 minutes. So that's I don't think you. Yeah, I think it works. It works better in a game.
I mean, I think the way that the Quiet Place is doing things, right, with the first one. I don't know if you all have seen the Quiet Place, but the Quiet Place, the first one, is kind of an apocalyptic with monsters and stuff like that. I won't talk too much about specifics, but it's pretty good. And then there's a sequel that's coming out, I think, this year. And it's supposed to take place. I think the majority of it is taking place before the Quiet Place 1. With some of it taking place in after the movie, but just a lot of explaining of how it went wrong and how it happened. So they could definitely do stuff like that and expand the lore. I mean, especially if Druckmann isn't as involved as it seems. So
yeah, I still feel like the opening scene is gonna be, Joel and Tess like on a supply run, and they're gonna encounter a zombie like in the first 10 minutes. It's gonna be their introduction to like.
Oh, I can already imagine that. That'd be
cool.
Infected.
That's what I think it's how it's gonna be. They're probably gonna be walking in a dark hallway. It's probably gonna be like a jump scare. I think that's how.
And then they'll like say flashback to 20 years later or whatever.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be like in the present time, but it's gonna like, and then maybe they'll cut back to like the past or whatever. You know what I mean? I just don't think we're gonna see. I don't think we're gonna see.
Let's just write the first episode at this point.
Yeah. I don't think we're gonna see Tommy and Sarah all right in the beginning. But we'll see. I could be wrong, but
sure. Well, I mean, the show's in good hands. I mean, everything that I've heard so far gives me confidence.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to be pessimistic. I just don't think it needs to exist.
Yeah, fair enough.
I can live without it, is what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I do want to touch on when do you guys think this is going to release? Because I'll be happy if we get a trailer this year, to be honest with you.
It won't be this year because obviously they just casted the characters.
Yeah.
And they got the pandemic. Although they're going to be in outside, like a lot of wilderness areas. So that'd be easier to film.
So also, I mean, the show is about a pandemic, so I guess that gives them a bunch of material.
Yeah, I mean, it helps in certain
Oh, that
locations.
should
Like
be
if you're
fun.
filming in a city, obviously it's harder to film. But if you're filming in the woods, you can make your own like structures and
I
bases.
honestly think next year.
So
I
next year
think
is a safe bet.
late next year, like fall or
Yeah,
winter or
that's what
something
I was
like
gonna
that.
say. Yeah, I agree. That's
I don't know if we
fall
can
or
wait
winter.
that long.
Well, I mean, storm HBO's castle. Then I don't know what to tell you, James.
I mean,
They have a castle?
I don't know. It's just an expression. It's just an
safe.
expression.
I think they'll start filming in the summer probably. I think that's a safe bet, right? And then we might see like a teaser in like Comic-Con in July or August, depending on whenever
That'd
they
be
do
good.
it.
That'd be smart.
Yeah, you know, HBO Max is connected to like WB now, and they do their show in like August, I think last year. So maybe like I think late in the summer we'll probably see like a tease, maybe some photos. I'm sure they'll start filming in the summer now that the casting is the main cast, which was the hardest part, obviously, was finding Joel and Ellie. Now they can start really getting into it.
I think Pedro Pascal is perfect. I don't know enough about. I'm already forgetting her name.
Bella
Ramsay.
Bella Ramsey. I'm sure she'll be great though.
Yeah, I don't see any reason not to trust her as Ellie so far.
We just have to wait and see.
Yeah, but yeah, I think summertime I think you'll see photos and set pieces and things like that.
Yeah.
Safe bet.
And obviously, like we were talking a little bit about the fact that there's going to be that thing. People have expectations of what the characters look and sound like.
Yeah.
So with the actors, are people going to take to it? But as we know, the Last of Us fan base is nothing but kind and caring about about decisions that they don't agree with. So
yep.
I'm sure all will be well in that.
Everything will be fine. There'll be no controversy, and all gamers will not rise up from their seats. They will be very polite and say, "No, thank you. I will watch something else."
But that's a good point though, because I feel like most people universally love the first game, like the story, but the second game is very divisive. So I'm curious, like, are they gonna like change some stuff in the second game that?
Yeah, I wonder if they'll make the, especially, I won't say too much specific, James, but especially towards the end of The Last of Us 1, if they'll add certain things to recontextualize the sequel, which will make it more clear that certain things are going on. Like maybe we'll get a hint of a certain character that appears in Last of Us Part 2.
Because I'm not sure that was originally intended to be.
Yeah, I don't.
They kind of like decided, oh, that's a cool.
You know, Seb, you're really not as good at hiding these spoilers as you think you are.
Yeah, Seb, there's not a lot of other people that you could really mean. I appreciate the attempt, though. I appreciate the attempt. I don't know how to word it.
I don't really know how to word that, though. Like, this is a PlayStation podcast.
Let's just mark this whole thing as possible.
You play Last of Us already. This is a PlayStation podcast.
God damn it.
Anyway, sorry.
All right.
Timestamp these things.
I've timestamped it, as you were saying.
It's hard for me to like not say it. You know what I'm talking about. Like that was kind of shoehorned. That was shoehorned in. I think. Like I don't think they originally planned it that way, and they were like, "Oh, this is a really cool idea. Let's do that." You know what I mean?
Could have been. I see you. It felt a little ham-fisted at times.
So in a show now that we have that connection, we can really delve into it and make it that way. So.
Yeah.
I can't wait until they do the second. I hope they do the second game, because that game has so many different there's so many different plot points and it's so complicated. There's so many different emotions and
that makes me ask you guys: do you think the whole first season is going to be the first game, or do you think they're going to drag it out for a couple?
I reckon it fits in a season of a TV show. I reckon it's.
I could see it as the season. I mean, were there 8 different locations or 10 different locations? Maybe you could do 2-parters.
I don't think there were that. I think there was 6 probably locations, something like that.
Maybe you could do a couple 2-parters.
It was mainly in the upper Midwest, not Midwest, the upper Pacific West. So
you could go by season as well. I mean, 2 episodes per season, or maybe 3 for the last one.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is I'm assuming the show is going to be a hit. I think that's a safe bet. Most people are going to tune in just to see it.
There's already a lot of buzz around it. I reckon, even beyond the video game crowd.
So there's no way this show is going to be one season. You know what I mean? They're going to have to continue the story. So I think adapting the second game is probably a safe bet, I'd imagine. Unless the show really tanks and everybody hates it. But I just don't see that being the case. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Right. Well, anyway, that's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's gonna be great. Anyway, best open worlds, guys. Let's get right to it. Next topic is going to be best open worlds. We're going to talk about our favorite open worlds. That sounds exciting, right? Wow.
It does. I'm excited.
I am fantastic at transitions. Yeah. So I don't know. It's self-explanatory. We're just going to talk about which open worlds we like. Dory, you've got like 7 of these for some fucking reason.
I skimmed it. I've got 4 now.
You skimmed
okay?
it. Oh, good. Okay, you've got 4 now. Okay, kick us off then, because that's still one more than me.
Great. Number 1 on my list, and this is not in any particular order. Number 1 on my list is Horizon Zero Dawn. It was one of the first games I ever played on PS4. I love the world. I love Aloy as a character. I love a lot of the character interactions. Can't wait until they make it a dating game in the sequel, so Aloy can finally, if she wants to, date other people. I thought the mechanics of it was great. I mean, you've got flipping robotic dinosaurs. How can you go wrong? Yeah.
But what makes it a good open world?
Okay.
That's the thing.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, the dinosaurs are a big part of why I love that open world. Like, it makes it so unique from a lot of other open world games I've seen. The mixture of post-apocalypse, but also people in the middle of a rebirth is really interesting. Like, a lot of open world games that are post-apocalyptic are like just after, or like the post-apocalypse is like really, felt. But in this game, I feel like there's so much nature and there's so much community that it's not as bad. Even in The Last of Us 2, like, you only get, I know it's not an open world game, but you only get like a couple of small communities here and there, and it's mostly like gangs and tribes and stuff like that. With Horizon, it feels like, there are towns and there are communities and there are places where Aloy can call home and stuff. It feels very lived in, and I like that. There's a lot of beautiful views, stuff like that.
And I love the fact that they have, it's all very like wilderness. There's a lot of grass and that kind of thing, but they have these big ruins of cities and stuff. But I think those are done. The art direction on those is so fantastic. Like, they have these big ruins of skyscrapers and that kind of thing, and they just look fantastic, all overgrown and that kind of thing, covered in moss.
Yeah,
that game is gorgeous. Like, it's arguably the best looking PS4 game.
It was one of the first, and it made a really good impression on me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was their first open world game as well. It's Guerrilla's first open world game, which is nuts that they knocked it.
Because I've never been a big Killzone fan, and they somehow turned like a new IP into like a household name. That's pretty unheard of, honestly.
It's pretty wild.
One of the most anticipated PS5 games, the sequel.
I'm curious how they expand like the world and stuff.
Yeah. I'm sorry,
Seb. I think you're stuck. You're frozen.
He's alright. He's back.
Okay, he's back. Never mind.
Anyway, Seb, what's yours? What's your first one?
My first one would probably be Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the same reasons as Dory, because the environment looks very similar. I think it is very colorful, gorgeous looking. But what I love about it is just like how they managed to like render all the leaves and stuff. Like, especially like when you render those those big fields of like all pink and yellow. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I love the Japanese aesthetic. I wish we had trees like that here.
The thing is, right? I got to stop you right there, because it's a gorgeous looking open world. It's fantastic. But in terms of like, if we're talking about like the open worlds in general, like not just how they look, but just all the things that the open world encompasses.
I wasn't really finished, but okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll let you finish. I want to go.
Well, let me be clear though. I don't generally like open world, so I'll just make that clear. But yeah, I do like the idea though of like running a camp and just like freeing people. Horizon does the same thing where you fight bandits. And you just clear out the map doing that. I do find that other people don't. No, don't get me wrong. There's some like boring escort quests and side quests that are kind of boring, but I just even like the collecting. I like finding the foxes and things like that. I thought was really fun. It always kept me engaged. The world. Like but I think it's because I love the aesthetic so much.
Sure, yeah. I think a lot of the open world stuff fell flat though, because it's like once you've done one enemy base, you've done them all. It felt very outdated. It felt like a 5-year-old.
But I still enjoyed it. You know.
And the Foxies, you brought up the Foxies, but like the Foxies, I I feel like they had so much more potential than they lived up to. Because it was always the same, like you found a fox and then you just followed it for a while and then you got a collectible.
I just think these criticisms apply to like pretty much every open world game because they're just repetitive by nature. You know what I mean?
I feel like so many open world games recently have made big strides, and this one, I think, amongst those, this one felt very like it was slow on the uptake.
Yeah, but as somebody that played like Valhalla recently, it's like it's pretty the same. It's like it's beautiful. It looks there's so much content and stuff, but it's like it's the same shit over and over again. It's just a natural part of the genre. Like,
I think for me, like I didn't mind all the enemy camps in either Horizon Zero Dawn or Ghost of Tsushima because I loved the combat so much that it didn't bother me. I remember in Horizon Zero Dawn, to go back to that for a second, like I cleared a bandit camp without getting spotted once, and it was like one of the coolest things I ever did playing a video game. Like I felt so accomplished getting it. I didn't get an achievement or anything, but I didn't care. Like I felt really cool while doing it, and I felt similar when I went through Ghost of Tsushima camps and didn't get detected or wiped everybody out real quick. Like that stuff made you feel powerful, which is what the whole game's about. It's a power fantasy.
There was nothing more fun than like being a lone samurai and just taking on a whole army of people by yourself. Like that was amazing. So even though this contradicts my general opinion of open world games, that game managed to keep it fun. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That's
sure. I mean, yeah. We're talking about best open worlds here. I feel like you guys have missed the mark, so I'm going to come out swinging.
Okay.
With the daddy of open worlds.
Excuse me.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, okay.
Well, I didn't want to like do one of the best ones like at first. I wanted to like lead up to.
Well, you got to come out swinging. You got to come up with the big guns.
Literally the big guns.
I prefer build up.
Okay. Here's the thing. Red Dead Redemption 2, what I was thinking about and what prompted me to suggest this topic for the podcast even was the fact that I wanted to mention the open world in this game is so brilliant. Most open world games, they have some side activities that you can go and do. Like, well, not most of them, but a lot of open world games had side activities like you can go to a bar and do karaoke or whatever. You can do mini games. You go bowling, with your cousin.
Yakuza.
Etc. And those are sort of like, those feel a little divorced. I mean, those are great. Those are fun. They feel a little divorced and everything from the world. The great thing about Red Dead Redemption 2 is it has those sort of side missions. You can play Five Finger Fillet, you can play dominoes, you can play poker, you can go to a bar, and so on. But also they have these activities. You can go hunting, you can go bird watching, you can go and you can go and lasso a horse and tame a horse. And all those activities are like, they're not something you go to a marker on the map and you get entered into like a mini game. These are all built into the world. Like they're part of the world. You can find a horse at any time and you can grab it. You can find an animal because there's the whole ecosystem with all the wildlife, and you can go and find an animal anytime. You can go hunting, and you can go down to a stream and you can go bird watching, and maybe a wolf will turn up and shit gets exciting. It's all sort of so natural, and it's
I'd rather coexist with the foxes and be warned to not shoot the deer personally. I'm sorry, James. It's not my speed.
You don't have to shoot the deer.
This topic was just created for you you have an excuse to praise Rockstar and Red Dead.
You know that meme where it's like a Trojan horse and like there's something in the middle of it? Like the Trojan horse is like open world topics, and then inside is like James's latest revelation or epiphany about Red Dead Redemption 2.
I'm unfamiliar with this.
I think it's
I'll have to show you the meme. 1 second.
I think it's a detriment and a good thing. Like I think the open world of Red Dead, like look wise, is like the best there's ever been. Like for sure. But
absolutely,
I didn't like having to travel across the entire map on a horse.
It's a slow burn. It's a slow burn to be sure.
And some of the hunting for me got really old. I'm not into the whole simulation, real life simulator of wild.
Yeah, same.
I feel like they walked that line brilliantly of like fun and realism. Like you have to balance it. You can't have it leaning too much to one side, and they walked that line, I think, just perfectly. Because like the hunting is sort of realistic and everything, but it's not too realistic. It's still fun for me. And I didn't like you can sort of choose how much you do it. It's not like you have missions. Well, you do have some missions where you go hunting, but they're all very scripted and everything. It's not like you're tasked with going hunting every day or something like that. You can never hunt in the open world if you don't want to, or you can do it all the time between every mission. It's all up to you, you know. And one of my favorite things in that game was going down to a stream, getting my binoculars out, and just studying birds. What video game is that fun in? You know.
I mean, like
Great question.
Yeah, there isn't. I don't find that fun. So.
You would in Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, if you ever try, did you try it? Did you ever try doing that?
Yes, I tried everything. I didn't like it.
Oh,
and I know you.
I don't know what to tell you, man. You're weird.
No, I just have a preference for certain games. Red Dead Redemption 2 is usually not a game I generally. Well, I don't want to really get off the topic on this topic, but like I do think there's a big problem with these developers feel the need they have to make every game giant open world and fill as much content as possible to like make.
I understand,
game
but
work
I feel like Red Dead Redemption 2 wasn't so much a case of that because the world felt very rich.
Red Dead had like 7 to 10 years of development, so I don't count that one. But generally, though, speaking,
sure.
This is why.
Anyway, we'll move on. Dory, what you got? What's your next one?
My next one is one. I got a funny story behind this game actually, but it's Assassin's Creed Black Flag. My favorite Assassin's Creed game of all time, as well as my favorite pirate game of all time. I love this flipping game. I don't know if I've told the story before, but I was playing the game around or just finished the game around the time I first met my partner of like 3+ years, and she was talking to me and stuff like that, and I was telling her, we had just started dating. I think we've been dating for a month or something, and I basically said something really dumb, although it ended up going well. But I said basically like, I don't love you as much as I love Black Flag, but you're pretty cool. And she's like, wait, you love me? And I was like, shit. So anyway, Black Flag, responsible for my relationship, everybody. It's a really great game. I love exploring the high seas. I love the character that you are. I love the interactions with the pirates. I love the story. Just being on that ship with all the sea shanties. Now sea shanties are cool. So now I'm going to bring that up. That's like really makes the world feel a lot better, because if you're going around in the ship all the time, like it gets so boring. But then everybody sings a sea shanty, it's like, damn, this is great. Or you get to fight ships, I mean, they do it in Kingdom Hearts 3, but it's a ripoff anyway.
I mean, aren't the sea shanties just like a medieval version of an archaic version of like the radio in a car in Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah, I guess so, kind of. And they have a lot of like traditional like pirate songs or sea shanties that they would all sing together. It's really fun. But yeah, the world is just pretty. It's nice to look at. It's rich, both figuratively and literally in some spots. Every place is like interesting to go to. I just think that game's world is so great. And honestly, I just wish they'd keep making Black Flag games, but they won't because Ubisoft sucks. Anyway, that's my little rant.
It makes me sad that they won't release that Skull and Bones game, because I want a game.
It's still slated. It's still slated.
I want a ship game so bad, because the ship combat in that game was phenomenal. That was the best Assassin's Creed, too.
All right, James, that's the meme right there.
I can't look at it right now, but I'll check it later.
Okay. Well, the meme's in the podcast channel.
Open discussion. James,
sure.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Anyway, Seb, what you got next? What's your next one?
Breath of the Wild, of course. I mean, like,
it had to come up at some point, right?
You have complete freedom to do whatever the hell you want. You can climb literally anything, and like it. And the cell shading is so artistic and unique. You know what I mean? Because open world games tend to like want to have hyper realistic settings nowadays. So this game really stands out, and I think it really helps that. And no, there's some aspects of it that I don't like. Like, I like having like more of like a waypoint and things like that. I like arrows. you know what I mean, certain games.
Being
This game
guided
doesn't.
and stuff. You know.
I like guides, and so it kind of hurts me in this game. But I also understand the fun of just exploring an area and not knowing what, and just finding a cool like random tower or puzzle or whatever or dungeon, and having fun with that. You know what I mean? The exploration is amazing. Like, and
Yeah,
even to this day, we're 2021. I still see people creating all these cool ways of traveling, like hitting an item and like flying 50 feet in the air. It's really awesome that people even to this day are finding new ways to discover new things in the game. So
Yeah, I will say that I'm not a big fan of Breath of the Wild. I played the first 4 hours and I didn't like the way that like the temperature or the weather affects your climbing. I think that's really annoying.
yeah, I'm with you on
And
that
I think there are certain gatekeeping elements, like certain enemies will keep you in your place if you try to fight them. But I will say one thing I love about Breath of the Wild is the speedrunning scene. I love Breath of the Wild speedruns. They're really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like Breath of the Wild, I think those speedruns are awesome. And I agree that graphically, it's a terrific game, and the world itself is beautiful. I just don't
Yeah.
like moving around in it.
Yeah, my go ahead, James.
Breath of the Wild has never really clicked with me, but every time I play it, I always have to like sit back and like say to myself, wow, there really is something special about this game. I see why people love this.
Yeah,
even though I always want to put it down, I'm like, oh, I can't be arsed with this.
Yeah, my only problem, my problem with that game is item management. I don't like that the weapons break. Like, I understand why they do it. I just hate that. I just don't.
I hate it too. I think it sucks.
It almost ruins the game for me.
Honestly, it's part of what ruined the game for me. I mean, I still keep telling myself I'll go back to it sometime, but who knows? But and I'm fine with weapon durability. Just make it an option. Make it an optional feature. That way, people who don't like it are happy, and people who do like it are happy. Because I don't mind it being in the game if that's what people like. If they want more realism in their Legend of Zelda game, then they can have that. That's great. But I don't want it in my Legend of Zelda game. I want my Majora's Mask. I want my Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword. I know that's controversial, but those are the games I want.
That one. You lost me on
sorry.
That one. But
I know.
But like, I don't know if this applies to the open world, but I wasn't crazy about the dungeons and Breath of the Wild.
I found the dungeons repetitive after 4 hours. So I was like, I don't know how they make a full game out of this.
Game. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, great open world. I think it fits the criteria. I think
for sure.
It might be arguably the best open world in terms of freedom than any other game. Like, I think Red Dead obviously wins in like the realistic, like beautiful, like just a real world setting. But I think Breath of the Wild, I don't think there's ever been a game that has to travel anywhere like that.
It's definitely like it's set a new precedent, I think, for open world games in terms of just freedom, player freedom.
Everybody's copying it now. So
and we're starting to see the clones now.
Yeah.
Which is good. I can't wait till we see clones of Red Dead Redemption 2, which will probably never happen because that game took like 8 years and 8 teams to make. But
that'll never happen. They don't have the talent of Rockstar.
But anyway, my next one is Death Stranding. Actually, I like that. You can argue it's not really. I mean, it's basically an open world. It has different areas.
No, it's an open world game.
But I like Death Stranding a lot. I mean, the narrative is there's a different conversation to be had about that and Kojima's writing. Kojima cannot write dialogue to save himself.
Princess Beach.
Jesus Christ. But the open world in that game is so unique. It's so beautiful and it's so empty. I think that's a large reason they were able to get the game released so quickly. Is because the world is essentially empty. But it's such an interesting premise, I think, of having this whole thing where you have to deliver packages and there's not really any combat or anything like that. You're just going from A to B. It's just a traversal game. And the traversal is so good. But in terms of the open world, like, you're interacting with all this stuff that's been placed by other players, and you can place stuff for other players, and it's like you have this whole feeling of connectivity where you're helping these people who you can't see, but it feels like you're working as a team almost. Yeah. And like, it got to that point when I was playing it where I started leaving things like ropes on cliff edges, even though I didn't need them, just because I thought, oh, that's a good spot. Somebody might be able to use that.
Yeah, like, I imagine that game was probably not as fun at launch because like you didn't really have those bridges because the game was so
there was
new.
still a lot of bridges at launch. Like I played it at launch, and there was a lot.
Okay.
There was a lot of stuff. Because there was a lot of
Right.
people playing it at launch, probably going
Yeah.
ahead of.
Right. It's probably a lot funner like a few months, a year later after because everything's kind of like established. I think that I do love that connection. I love that theme. The players can like help each other. That's definitely a good point. Yeah, that's a good choice. I mean, I can see why people don't love the open. A lot of it's largely just green field with like mountain rock, mountain areas, pretty much the whole map. But
Yeah, and I didn't do a lot of the side deliveries, which is I probably would have been bored as shit with the side deliveries, the optional deliveries. But I feel like they filled a lot of the dead time quite well by having like the music kick in and stuff like that. Yeah, just the perfect, and like walking through that world with like low roar. I'm not a huge low roar fan. I'd never heard a fucking low roar song in my life. I'd never heard of them before Death Stranding. I'm now like a huge fucking low roar fan just because the music kept playing while I'm walking from point A to point B, and this low roar song kicks in. Like, wow, this fucking slaps. This is making this journey 10 times better.
I'm a big fan of High Squeak myself. High Squeak.
What the fuck is that?
I was just saying the opposite of low roar. High Squeak.
Oh, your humor is too high IQ for me.
That's right. See, now I'm the smart one. Is it my turn?
Is it? Are we done talking Death?
I don't know.
If we're done talking about Death Stranding, then yes, it's your turn. Go ahead, please. Be my guest.
Yeah, the world itself was great. The gameplay I hated, but that's nothing to do with the world. I thought it was boring.
It's okay.
The world looks very pretty, and I like that people wear skeleton masks, and their names are Death McDeathface. That's good stuff. I didn't play it. Is it obvious that I didn't play it? I just watched the trailer.
No, that's actually pretty accurate. That is his name.
Okay, great. Okay.
Anyway, yeah, Dory, what's your next one?
Yeah, I didn't mean to rush you there. Yeah, so we've already talked about Ghost of Tsushima. I largely agree with what Seb said. So I'll just push it forward. Spider-Man and Miles Morales is probably my number 3 since we already talked about Ghost. I've gone to New York City a few times. I got to tell you, there is a lot of garbage on the street. It is not always a great place to visit. I saw the Seinfeld diner once. That was cool. But like, yeah, I mean, I think it's much nicer for me to visit New York City in a video game than it is in real life. It's such a crowded city, but it is beautiful in a lot of places. And I think I'm counting it as one pick, but because it's basically the same. But Spider-Man and Miles Morales, it's just such a joy to traverse throughout that city. All the different people that you can do high fives with. Don't do that anymore, of course. Is great. Just all the, obviously the photo modes are terrific as well. And you can take such great pictures of the already excellent world.
Of course. Which is your preferred version of it? The one from Spider-Man or the one from Miles Morales?
I like the one with Spider-Man, and it's from a very specific film reason. I think we've talked about it before, but you can pull up the photo mode with a button. And with Miles, you have to press options and then go to photo mode. And it's very stupid, but that made that one small difference, which I shouldn't have made a difference, but it did. Because I don't care that I know James, but I don't care that much about photo mode. It made me take almost no pictures at all in Miles Morales, except for when I got the platinum.
When you say in Spider-Man about the photo mode being able to pull it up with a button press, are you talking about like the camera that Spider-Man has that uses in missions and stuff?
Think so. It's been a while since I played it, but I'm pretty sure it is the official photo mode when you like press the up on the D-pad or something like that, or down, and then the camera comes up or the photo mode comes up, whatever it is. But that's how I took pictures anyway.
Okay.
I love that world, and it's great, and it's better than visiting New York City in person, at least in my experience. But whatever. I'm from Boston. I guess I'm supposed to hate New York or something. I don't hate New York.
Forget about it.
Forget it. I'm walking here.
Okay. Seb, what's your next one? Please move us along.
It's hard because it's kind of a tie between all the Elder Scroll games, like Morrowind.
Okay, well, I'm gonna make this your last one. So.
Oh, it's gonna be it's the last one. So I would say, oh man, I want to say The Witcher 3, because it obviously was a gorgeous world, but also the pacing was really well. I thought like there was a lot of horse riding, but like you get to a town really quick. It wasn't like 25 minutes of traveling.
Yeah, they had that rule as well where every 30 seconds something has to happen.
Yeah, there's always something going on no matter what, and you just end up fighting a. You just randomly play cards with somebody. Obviously, like I said, the world is gorgeous. All the side characters are well written, really developed. There's a lot of dialogue everywhere. That was back when CD Projekt Red actually cared, but yeah. So I mean, it's kind of hard to like repeat like, talk about open world games without like saying what I already said about Ghost of Tsushima or whatever. It's good. Oh, it's gorgeous.
Those are like polar opposites. Those games in terms of their open worlds. Like one of them is dense one of them's dense, new, and engaging. The other one is like it looks good, but it's full of fucking open world bullshit, checklist bullshit.
It's fun. Like
I'm sure they're both fun, but like they're totally different.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a fake genre though. So, like, it's a fake like topic. Like what defines like a great open world? Like, there's different reasons I like
everything that's not in Ghost of Tsushima. That's what defines a great open world.
Like I gotta say, like Grand Theft Auto 5, like that's a legit like open world, like one of the best there's ever been. But like, and it was really fun. So I was gonna say that too. But this is my last one. I have to start throwing everything in.
Yeah, and I guess it's debatable whether side quests are part of the open world, because that's obviously a big selling point for The Witcher 3. Is the side quests.
Yeah, well, what makes a great open world? If it's like not boring filler like side stuff, but like going to a town and then you encounter a great story from a side character, that makes it open world great. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What makes Red Dead so great is that you travel down a road, all of a sudden there's a world quest. Oh, here's like you gotta rescue this lady from something. You know what I mean? That's what made it so good. But same thing applies to The Witcher. It's just that like I only like open worlds from certain companies because I can trust them because they know how to do it. Like I generally like Bethesda's or Obsidian or Rockstar. Like I generally hate Ubisoft open world games.
Yeah.
I'm playing Phoenix Rising right now and I can't get motivated to start playing it again. I know people are really digging it, but it's the same like here's a big ass map, go do stuff, and it's just like it's just too much. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, definitely. Ubisoft open worlds are very sort of all cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, Valhalla burned me out completely.
That's understandable. Yeah, so my last one is going to be Forza Horizon 4. Which, I mean, it makes sense, right?
It's not a bad choice. Actually.
It's not a bad choice because it's the map of the UK, a condensed map of the UK, but it uses a lot of Scotland as well. Edinburgh's in there, and it's like driving through. I've been to Edinburgh often, and driving through the streets of Edinburgh in that game is like, besides the fact there's no people there, it's 1-to-1. It's uncanny. It's like, and it's so
now
cool.
I'm interested.
It's so cool because it's like, oh, I've been here. You're driving through the streets, and I'm like, oh, I've been there. I was there, like a month ago. How cool is that? And it's a feeling that I imagine a lot of people who live in America had in like these big cities in America, like New York or something, like you were saying with Spider-Man, Dory. And like, yeah, it's nice to finally have that. As someone who lives in Scotland, which is a country that's often not very well represented in video games, it's nice to have that feeling. And also, it's one of the best racing games out there. And it's like, it uses the open world so well. It's like the best I think it's maybe one of the only open world racing games besides like Need for Speed and Burnout Paradise, but that's quite an old one.
I will say about Spider-Man that New York is so huge and Spider-Man's take on it is fairly fictional. I almost never get senses like, oh, I was there, because New York's just so fucking huge. I have no idea if I was there or not. Also, no real sense of spatiality on my part. So
I mean, there are people that like saw their apartment in the game.
Oh,
like,
really?
Oh, that's where I live. Yeah,
that's so cool.
It's pretty accurate. Like I don't think it's like super accurate.
Yeah, no, I just mean I've only been a tourist in New York a couple times, so I've never had that. Ooh, I know there, but I have had that for The Last of Us with the orange line when you're going into the subway and stuff like that. Just seeing like those walls. This is so Boston. I'm sorry, but when you see the way the walls are, I'm like, I put my hand on those kind of walls before. You shouldn't, by the way. You'll probably get some disease. but they feel really nice. I know this is weird. And it's just, I'm like, oh my God, it's the orange line. The first time playing Last of Us, I got so excited at that part. I was like, we're in Boston. Oh my God.
Yeah, my whole family's from Boston, so I've been there many times. It's definitely.
So you also know about the orange line.
It's definitely true. Yes. And then Fallout 4, it was in Boston.
Wait, what about the orange line?
I was just saying Seb knows what you're talking about because he's been to Boston.
I love the orange line.
But yeah, that's
we're wrapping up. I gotta give a shout out to Fallout 3 in New Vegas, and I gotta give a shout out to Outer Worlds.
In that case, I'll also mention that one that I just thought of just now as I was talking about Forza Horizon 4 is Burnout Paradise, because obviously they really use the traffic lights. You can stop at any set of traffic lights and start a race, which is the way the city is sort of connected like that. Is really good.
My honorable mention is Arkham City. Arkham City's great.
Okay. Well, in that case, bye. Okay, bye. We're done.
Okay, bye. Kingdom Hearts on PC. Come into Epic Game Store.
$60 each.
$60 each.
We can't leave.
Fucking much money.
We can't leave yet because I have to read the things. I have to say that I have to say that we're gonna have some content coming out hopefully soon. We'll be back next week, etc. If you like the podcast, subscribe to us on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast on your podcast feeds, whatever. Give us a rating on Apple Podcasts if you liked the podcast. If you didn't like the podcast, then don't give us a rating on Apple Podcasts because that's mean and we don't like that. Unless you're going to give us a good review, which would be weird if you didn't like it, because then why would you give us
only give us a positive review, or
don't
comment at all.
Yeah, exactly. Give us a positive review or don't give us a review. Anyway, With that said, that's the end of the show for this week. So we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.